The day Arsenio Hall found out not to mess with Prince. What if I told you that one of the greatest late-night hosts in history nearly lost everything because of his friendship with Prince? This isn't just about music or television, it's about power, loyalty, and the dangerous price of standing too close to a genius who played by no one's rules. From legendary performances to explosive scandals, Arsenio Hall learned the hard way that when Prince wanted control, he took it and left chaos behind. Do you think Arsenio made the right choice? Watch until the end and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence. Prince Rogers Nelson. Prince Rogers Nelson, born on June 7, 1958 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was more than a musician. He was a force of nature who redefined what it meant to be an artist. Standing at only 5'2" but armed with unmatched talent, Prince mastered guitar, piano, drums, and an ethereal voice that could shift from falsetto to raw grit in a single breath. By the time his breakthrough album 1999, 1982, and Purple Rain 1984 catapulted him to global superstardom, Prince had already become one of the most daring and uncompromising performers of the 20th century. He sold over 150 million records worldwide, won 7 Grammy Awards, and earned induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. But numbers only scratched the surface of his impact. His artistry was about control, vision, and bending the industry to his will. That obsession with control is what brought him into a fateful partnership with comedian and talk show host Arsenio Hall. When Prince appeared on the Arsenio Hall Show in September 1991, he didn't just show up for a 5-minute interview. He demanded and received the entire episode. No one else, not even global megastars like Madonna or Michael Jackson, ever had that privilege. What unfolded was television history. 30 minutes of unstoppable energy with Prince treating Hall's stage like his private laboratory. It was a partnership born out of mutual respect. Prince needed a space to perform without compromise, and Hall needed a guest who could electrify audiences. Yet, as with many relationships in Prince's life, the balance of power tilted dangerously. In 1993, angered by a scathing review of his love symbol album, Prince set a newspaper on fire on Hall's stage. While executives panicked, Hall played along, unwilling to confront his friend, but painfully aware of the risk. For Prince, it was more than a stunt. It was war against critics, the music industry, and anyone who tried to confine him. For Hall, it was the day he began to understand that loyalty to Prince often meant stepping into chaos. Their paths diverged after Hall's show ended in 1994, but in 2014 they reunited. Prince once again took over an entire episode offering rare glimpses of his personal life, his dislike of cell phones, his quirky late-night cooking habits while still guarding his mysteries. It was a softer Prince, but still one who controlled every detail of how he appeared. 2 years later, on April 21, 2016, Prince died suddenly at age 57 alone in the elevator at his Paisley Park estate. The cause, an accidental fentanyl overdose. For Hall, the grief was soon overshadowed by false accusations from singer Sinead O'Connor, who claimed he had supplied Prince with drugs. Hall sued for defamation and won, but the ordeal proved that even in death, Prince's presence had the power to shake lives apart. Prince's legacy remains monumental. A man who refused compromise, who blurred the lines between genius and madness, and who left the world both richer and emptier with his passing. For Arsenio Hall, the day he found out not to mess with Prince was not one night, but a lifetime lesson with Prince's brilliance always came at a cost. Arsenio Hall. Arsenio Hall was born on February 12, 1956, in Cleveland, Ohio, the son of a Baptist minister. From a young age, he gravitated toward entertainment, learning magic tricks and dreaming of stages far larger than his local community. After studying at Kent State University and moving to Chicago and later Los Angeles, Hall began to carve out a space in the competitive world of stand-up comedy. His quick wit, sharp timing, and undeniable charisma soon landed him guest appearances on television, and by the late 1980s, his career took off when he became the host of the Arsenio Hall Show. Premiering in 1989, his show was groundbreaking. At a time when late-night TV was dominated by white hosts like Johnny Carson and David Letterman, Hall spoke directly to young, diverse audiences, especially African Americans. His famous catchphrase, "woof, woof, woof," echoed through studios as his dog-pound audience cheered. The show became a cultural phenomenon, attracting everyone from rising hip-hop stars to presidential candidates. Bill Clinton's saxophone performance in 1992 cemented Hall's place in TV history. But his most iconic guest was Prince. When Prince appeared in September 1991, he broke every rule of late-night television. Instead of a quick interview and one song, he demanded an entire episode, and Hall said yes. The result was electric, a 30-minute performance that drew millions of viewers and forever linked Hall to Prince's mystique. Their relationship was rooted in mutual respect. Hall gave Prince the freedom no other host would, and Prince rewarded him with unforgettable television. But the partnership was also dangerous. In 1993, Prince returned carrying grudges against critics. During one performance, he set a newspaper review on fire inside a grand piano. Fire marshals stormed the stage. Executives panicked, yet Hall treated it like entertainment. This revealed the risk of standing beside Prince. His brilliance was often paired with chaos, and Hall absorbed the fallout. After his show ended in 1994, Hall stepped away from television to raise his son. When he returned in 2013 with a new version of his show, Prince once again appeared, offering support and lending star power. It was a touching reunion, but the ratings couldn't save Hall's comeback. The media landscape had shifted to social media, and streaming and late-night TV was no longer the cultural hub it had once been. Then came tragedy. Prince died in April 2016 from an accidental fentanyl overdose. Hall publicly mourned his friend, remembering him with respect. But just 10 days later, singer Sinead O'Connor accused Hall of supplying Prince with drugs. The accusation spread like wildfire online, damaging Hall's reputation. Refusing to stay silent, he fought back with a $5 million defamation lawsuit. By 2017, O'Connor retracted her statements and apologized, clearing his name. For Arsenio Hall, the day he found out not to mess with Prince was not one performance or one headline. It was a lifetime lesson that friendship with a genius could bring glory, but also chaos, betrayal, and scars that fame alone could never heal. Sinead O'Connor. Sinead Marie Bernadette. O'Connor, born on December 8, 1966 in Dublin, Ireland, was one of the most distinctive voices of her generation. With her shaved head, piercing gaze, and haunting voice, she became an unlikely global superstar in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Her rise was meteoric. By 1990, she had recorded a cover of Prince's "Nothing Compares to You," a song originally written for his side project, The Family. O'Connor's raw, heartbreaking rendition became a cultural phenomenon, topping charts in over a dozen countries and earning her worldwide fame. The music video, centered on her tear-streaked face, remains one of the most iconic visuals in music history. Yet fame was never comfortable for O'Connor. Known for her uncompromising honesty, she often found herself clashing with institutions and celebrities alike. In 1992, she sparked global controversy by tearing up a photo of Pope John Paul II live on Saturday Night Live to protest abuse in the Catholic Church. The backlash was swift, but O'Connor remained defiant, saying she would never silence her truth. Her connection to Prince was complex. While she owed her greatest hit to him, she later revealed in interviews that their personal interactions had been fraught with tension. She described him as controlling and difficult while also acknowledging his genius. Their relationship was emblematic of her larger struggle with authority, a push and pull between admiration and resistance. That struggle resurfaced in 2016 after Prince's sudden death from an accidental fentanyl overdose at the age of 57. Just days after the world mourned him, O'Connor posted a Facebook message that shocked the entertainment industry. She accused Arsenio Hall, Prince's longtime friend and television ally, of being his drug supplier. The claims were explosive but entirely unsubstantiated. She even alleged Hall had once spiked her drink at Eddie Murphy's house. though she admitted she had not seen him in decades. The impact was immediate. Headlines linked Hall's name to Prince's tragic passing. Social media amplified the story, fueling speculation and damaging Hall's reputation. For him, it was a devastating betrayal. His years of loyalty to Prince had been weaponized in the ugliest way. Hall responded by filing a $5 million defamation lawsuit against O'Connor in May 2016. The legal battle stretched on, but O'Connor's position weakened as it became clear her accusations lacked evidence. In February 2017, she issued a full retraction and apology admitting her statements were false. The lawsuit was settled, but the damage to reputations hers and Hall's was lasting. Sinead O'Connor's life remained a mixture of brilliance and turbulence. She released 10 studio albums, her music often infused with political conviction and personal pain. She was candid about her struggles with mental health, making her a polarizing yet deeply human figure. In July 2023, she died at the age of 56, closing a life marked by extraordinary artistry and relentless controversy. For Arsenio Hall, her accusations became the cruel twist that turned a friendship with Prince into a public nightmare. For Sinead O'Connor, it was another chapter in a life defined by truth-telling rebellion and the heavy cost of refusing to remain silent even when she was wrong. Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, born on April 3, 1961 in Brooklyn, New York, is one of the most influential comedians and actors of all time. Rising to fame on Saturday Night Live in the early 1980s, Murphy quickly became a household name with characters like Gumby and Mr. Robinson. His charisma and sharp comedic timing propelled him into blockbuster films such as 48 Hers 1982, Beverly Hills Cop 1984, and Coming to America 1988. By his early 20s, Murphy was one of Hollywood's highest-paid stars, a cultural icon who blended comedy, music, and acting into an unstoppable career. His path would eventually intersect with Arsenio Hall, a fellow comedian and late-night pioneer. The two forged a close friendship strengthened when Hall co-starred in Coming to America. Their chemistry on screen mirrored their real-life camaraderie, and both became leading figures of black excellence in Hollywood. Hall's groundbreaking late-night talk show often featured Murphy, and Murphy in turn supported Hall in his endeavors. Their bond represented not just friendship but solidarity in an industry where few black entertainers had access to such power. Prince, too, existed within their orbit. Though not as close to Murphy as to Hall, Prince's aura often intersected with their circles in Hollywood. In the 1980s and 1990s, Murphy was part of the elite club of celebrities who crossed paths with the enigmatic musician. Social gatherings at Murphy's lavish homes often drew stars from comedy, film, and music settings where the worlds of Murphy, Hall, and Prince occasionally overlapped. It was in this context that Sinead O'Connor decades later dragged Eddie Murphy's name into controversy. In her explosive 2016 Facebook post following Prince's death, she accused Arsenio Hall of supplying Prince with drugs and alleged that Hall had once spiked her drink at a party in Murphy's house. The claim, however, lacked any evidence and was quickly dismissed as unfounded. Murphy himself was never implicated by authorities, and his connection was purely circumstantial, his home being the alleged setting. Yet the mention was enough to briefly tie him to one of the most sensationalized scandals of the decade. For Murphy, this moment was more a footnote than a defining chapter. His career continued to evolve, from voice work in the Shrek series to his acclaimed return in Dolomite Is My Name 2019, a role that earned him widespread critical praise. His long-standing friendship with Hall endured unaffected by O'Connor's accusations, and his status as a comedy legend remained unshaken. Still, the incident highlighted the way fame often entangles public figures in narratives beyond their control. Murphy's only involvement in the Prince-Hall feud was that his home had once hosted a gathering decades earlier. Yet in the age of viral headlines, even a passing reference was enough to pull him into the storm. Eddie Murphy's legacy remains intact. A trailblazer who redefined comedy, broke racial barriers in Hollywood, and entertained generations with his talent. But his name's sudden appearance in the saga of Prince and Arsenio Hall is a reminder of how celebrity culture can blur lines where truth, speculation, and scandal collide. Madonna Louise Ciccone. Madonna Louise Ciccone, born on August 16, 1958 in Bay City, Michigan, rose from modest beginnings to become the undisputed queen of pop. By the mid-1980s, she had reinvented the landscape of popular music and culture, with hits like a Virgin Material Girl and Papa Don't Preach. Known for her relentless ambition and chameleon-like reinvention, Madonna pushed boundaries of sexuality, fashion, and artistry, becoming one of the most influential women in entertainment history. Her career boasts more than 300 million records sold, multiple Grammy Awards, and a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cementing her as one of the best-selling artists of all time. But Madonna's path was never just about chart success. It was about power control and rewriting the rules, qualities that put her on a collision course with another icon of uncompromising vision, Prince. In the mid-1980s, the two briefly collaborated and shared a rumored romance. Their creative chemistry was undeniable. They even co-wrote Love Song for Madonna's Like a Prayer album in 1989. Yet both were fiercely independent, both obsessed with artistic authority, and both reluctant to cede ground. The tension between them was legendary, equal parts admiration and rivalry. This dynamic mattered in the context of Arsenio Hall's late-night platform. In the early 1990s, the Arsenio Hall show became the cultural stage where artists like Prince could rewrite television norms. Arsenio himself often noted that not even megastars like Madonna or Michael Jackson demanded the level of control Prince insisted on when appearing on his show. Madonna, with all her power, influence, and boldness, still played by the traditional late-night rules: promote a project, perform a song, and leave. Prince, in contrast, demanded entire episodes, precise lighting instructions, and editorial dominance. For Arsenio, this distinction was crucial. His willingness to yield his platform to Prince set their friendship apart, but also revealed the risks of accommodating someone who refused compromise. By highlighting that not even Madonna ever had such treatment, the show's producers emphasized how exceptional Prince's grip was over the program. It was proof of both his genius and his volatility. Meanwhile, Madonna herself represented the other side of the coin, an equally uncompromising artist who learned how to play within media structures without burning them down completely. Where Prince set newspapers on fire in response to bad reviews, Madonna leaned into controversy with calculated precision, using scandal as fuel rather than as an uncontrollable outburst. Her career longevity reflects that balance. She courted outrage, but always kept the industry machinery working in her favor. Though she was never directly tied to the Arsenio-Prince feud, Madonna's presence in their era of stardom provided contrast. She showed how far a performer could go while still negotiating with Hollywood's rules, while Prince's appearances on Arsenio's show demonstrated what happened when an artist rejected those rules altogether. For Arsenio Hall, invoking Madonna's name in comparison wasn't casual. It underscored how extraordinary and ultimately dangerous it was to give Prince unchecked freedom. Today, Madonna continues to tour and reinvent herself well into her 60s, a testament to her adaptability. Her indirect role in the saga of Prince and Arsenio Hall serves as a reminder even among superstars, there are degrees of power. And when it came to late-night television, not even Madonna could command the stage the way Prince did. Louis Farrakhan. Louis Eugene Walcott, better known as Louis Farrakhan, was born on May 11, 1933 in the Bronx, New York. A gifted violinist and charismatic speaker, Farrakhan rose to prominence as a leading figure in the Nation of Islam, NOI, eventually becoming its leader in 1977. Known for his fiery rhetoric, sharp intellect, and polarizing views, he became one of the most controversial religious and political voices in modern American history. To some, Farrakhan represented black empowerment and resistance against systemic oppression. To others, he symbolized division, with accusations of anti-Semitism, homophobia, and inflammatory rhetoric dogging his public image. By the early 1990s, Farrakhan's influence was at its peak. His speeches could draw tens of thousands, and his commentary on race relations made headlines nationwide. At the same time, Arsenio Hall was at the height of his television career. The Arsenio Hall Show, launched in 1989, had become the first late-night program to truly speak to younger urban and black audiences often ignored by Johnny Carson and David Letterman. Hall's platform was electric. He could host Bill Clinton playing saxophone one night and hip-hop stars the next. It was groundbreaking television, and his ratings soared. But when Farrakhan appeared on the Arsenio Hall Show in 1994, the move was explosive. Inviting the leader of the Nation of Islam into America's late-night living rooms was risky in itself, but Hall saw it as consistent with his mission to give a platform to voices mainstream television ignored. The interview drew massive attention, but the backlash was swift and severe. Critics accused Hall of legitimizing a figure many considered dangerous. Advertisers pulled back, network executives grew nervous, and whispers began that Hall had gone too far. The fallout was devastating. Within months, the Arsenio Hall Show was canceled. For many, Farrakhan's interview was the turning point, the moment when Hall's boldness crossed an invisible line in Hollywood. The message was clear: loyalty to cultural authenticity, and controversial figures could cost you everything in the entertainment industry. How does this tie to Prince? The parallel is striking. Just as Hall gave Farrakhan a stage, despite the risks, he had also given Prince near total control over his show. In both cases, Hall's generosity and loyalty backfired. With Prince, it led to chaotic moments like the infamous newspaper burning incident of 1993. With Farrakhan, it arguably ended his show altogether. Hall's willingness to accommodate powerful personalities, whether musical geniuses or political firebrands, showed his courage, but also exposed his vulnerability in an industry where power dynamics were unforgiving. Farrakhan himself continued his leadership, most famously organizing the 1995 Million Man March in Washington, D.C., which drew hundreds of thousands of participants. His influence endured, though always under the cloud of controversy. For Arsenio Hall, however, the cost of hosting him was permanent, the end of his first history-making run on late-night television. Looking back, Farrakhan's role in Hall's story underscores the central lesson of the day Arsenio Hall found out not to mess with Prince. Whether it was Prince commanding entire episodes or Farrakhan dominating headlines, Hall discovered that giving total freedom to powerful, uncompromising figures could leave him bearing all the risks. In Hollywood, loyalty and bravery were admirable, but survival often depended on knowing where not to step. John Bream. John Bream is a veteran music critic for the Star Tribune in Minneapolis, and for decades he has covered the Twin Cities' vibrant music scene. He has interviewed and reviewed hundreds of legendary performers, from Bob Dylan to Beyoncé. But one of his most enduring and controversial connections was with Prince Rogers Nelson, Minneapolis's most famous son. Bream had written about Prince from the very beginning of his career in the late 1970s. He chronicled the rise of the shy yet ambitious young artist, who would later conquer the world with 1999, 1982, and Purple Rain 1984. Unlike many critics, Bream was close enough to the Minneapolis scene to see Prince evolve firsthand. But being close did not mean being uncritical. And in 1992, that decision would put him in the middle of one of Prince's most infamous late-night television appearances. The flashpoint came with Prince's Love Symbol album, released in October 1992. The record was experimental, complex, and unlike his earlier mainstream hits. While some praised its daring creativity, others dismissed it as self-indulgent and inaccessible. John Bream wrote a particularly sharp review in the Star Tribune, calling the work out of touch and suggesting that Prince had lost sight of his audience. Most artists would have shrugged off a negative review. Prince, however, was not most artists. He carried grudges like weapons. and in February 1993, during a return to the Arsenio Hall show, he chose to make Bream's criticism a very public target. In front of a national audience, Prince set fire to a copy of the Los Angeles Times while performing using it as a symbolic act of defiance against critics. It was never confirmed if the exact paper represented Bream's review, but the gesture was unmistakable. Prince was literally burning his rage at the press. For Arsenio Hall, this was a nightmare. His stage, meant to showcase artistry, had become the site of a reckless protest. Fire marshals rushed in, Paramount executives panicked, and insurers demanded explanations. Yet Arsenio laughed it off in the moment, unwilling to confront Prince directly. The ratings soared, but so did the risks. And at the center of it all was John Bream, the critic whose words had lit the fuse. Bream himself never stopped writing about Prince. He continued to analyze his career highs and lows, documenting not just the music, but the persona behind it. After Prince's death in 2016, Bream reflected on their complicated history, acknowledging both the genius and the volatility of the man he had covered for nearly 4 decades. His perspective remains invaluable, offering both praise and tough honesty about an artist who demanded total control, yet couldn't control how the world judged him. In the saga of The Day Arsenio Hall Found Out Not to Mess with Prince, John Bream represents the power of criticism. A single review typed in a Minneapolis newsroom reverberated all the way to Hollywood, igniting one of late-night TV's most chaotic moments. For Prince, it was war against judgment. For Hall, it was a reminder that standing next to a genius also meant standing in the crossfire. Prince and Arsenio Hall's story is a reminder that genius often comes with a price, and even the strongest friendships can collapse under the weight of fame, control, and controversy. From legendary performances to lawsuits and betrayals, their bond became one of Hollywood's most unforgettable cautionary tales. Some see Prince as a misunderstood visionary, others as a man impossible to stand beside. But where does loyalty end and self-preservation begin? Was Arsenio Hall wrong to give Prince so much freedom, or was he simply honoring a friend's genius? Share your thoughts below and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence.